Hi everyone, this is Andy from K&A Ratting. I get asked by a lot of people to please do a video on all the equipment that we use. So here we go, a video on my kit. Enjoy. Alright, so here we go. The heart of any hunting setup is of course the rifle. This rifle is a basic PCP air rifle. So PCP, for those people who do not know, means that you have to pump it up with air. So if you look underneath the barrel, it has a cylinder that you fill with compressed air from a dive cylinder or a pump or something along those lines. That contains all the energy. When you cock the system, this is a lever action system, you pull the lever all the way back to cock it. It has a hammer internally, and when you pull the trigger, the hammer flies forward and releases a puff of air that expels the pellet out the barrel. So this air rifle itself, as I've pointed out already, is a lever action. It takes a magazine. You'll notice this slot here. It's got a pin that holds the magazine in place. The magazine looks like this. That's the back end of it. That one you can see is missing a couple of pellets. That's the front end of it, and that's what it looks like from the side. Magazines hold 10 rounds, which basically means that we can fire 10 rounds in a row without having to reload. On top of the air rifle, you'll notice that there is a standard normal optical scope. This is a zoom scope. It's a 3:9. And it has a focusing ring. Now that becomes quite important when we clip on the night vision. You'll notice, talking about night vision, that we have a collar here. That's where the night vision goes on. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Then coming through to the front, Kent and I will both use suppressors. Now the reason we do that is it just keeps the noise down. If you're hunting in and around people's farmyards, you don't want to disturb everybody and animals or anything else. Coming down to the pellets that we use, I'm currently using some Hades pellets. These are sort of almost semi-hollow pointed pellets. They are extremely accurate and I'm enjoying them a lot. Kent is currently using exact Diablo pellets. So just to give you an idea of what they look like, these are the Diablo pellets here. And then the Hades, you'll notice they have almost like a little radiation symbol type thing on the top. That's the expanding bit on the front, and they're quite cute. So, in essence, that's the rifle. Next, we'll talk about the night vision. Okay, so the night vision. This unit is known as a POD NV007. The way this works is it has a bayonet lug on the collar at the front there. You'll see there's a release clip like that. And that attaches to the back end of the scope so that it can see down the normal optical scope. Now the advantage of doing this is you can keep your daylight scope, your normal glass scope, on the top. You can use it as per normal, but then when you want to switch to night vision, you can clip this unit on. Now, the way this works is internally, it has a lens down the bottom, and it has a camera built in here. It then has some processing power in it, and it has a screen which you look into from the back. Then, at the top, it has another lens right up at the top. You'll notice it looks almost like a torch inside there. Well, the reason it looks like a torch is because that is a torch. It is an infrared torch. This unit is sensitive to infrared light. So when you clip it onto the back of your rifle scope here, it replaces your eye. So it is looking down the rifle scope. It sees the crosshairs. It sees everything that the rifle scope is looking at. Now, if we shine infrared light from this lens here, this infrared torch, that illuminates downrange. The infrared light bounces off everything that's around there, including the rat, hopefully. That light bounces back and comes back in through the scope, migrates through the scope, and then ends up coming into the camera inside the POD unit. Now, the POD unit is sensitive to infrared, so it's shining infrared, it's receiving the infrared. We can't see the infrared, but it can. It then displays it on the screen so that you can see it. And that basically allows you to hunt in absolute darkness. There doesn't need to be any light around at all because it provides its own light from the top here. The other nice thing about this unit is it has a record function. If you press the right button, it will record. And all our video clips, you'll notice that there are crosshairs involved. That's because we're using these units and you're seeing the crosshair of the scope because we're recording with these units. So yes, that's a brief rundown. I will stitch in some video of using it during the day using it sort of in twilight without infrared, and also at night. That'll be next. Okay, here's some daytime footage from the pod. You'll notice that the image is all in color. That's because it's in day mode and it's picking up the full color spectrum as the light that it can see. I'll switch it to night mode in a few moments, and what you'll notice is the image will change to a grayscale image. The reason for that is when you're using infrared, you only technically have one color of light. So it effectively means that you've got a black and white image. So in night mode, you don't need a full color spectrum. The other advantage is because the pod doesn't have to process all the different colors, it gives you a slight boost in sensitivity as well. Okay, here's some night footage for the pod. We're currently in day mode, so this is as your eye would see it, and as is evident, there is nothing to see. It's completely black. I've just switched night mode on, so now you can see just a hint of an image. That's the boost in sensitivity that comes from the night mode. I'm just playing around with the laser. And then when I turn the IR on, all of a sudden we get this flood of light. The camera automatically adjusts, and you'll notice that we can now see what is downrange. The other thing you'll notice is that the image is quite blurry. The reason for this is because with infrared light, it is outside of the normal color spectrum. So your focus is completely different. So that's where that focusing ring on the front of the scope comes in. You need to refocus the light, or the scope rather, so that you can actually see nice and clearly. Then what I'll do is I'll turn the infrared off and we're back to normal night mode. Okay. And last but not least is all the ancillary stuff that we take with us. So when we get to a ratting permission, we normally try and arrive before sundown, before the rats get active, and we'll use a rangefinder just to double check our distances so that we know our holdovers. The other thing that's very, very useful is a headlamp, useful for reloading magazines in the dark, for picking up carcasses, all the rest of it. And unfortunately, it doesn't fit on the table, but I use an old camera tripod as my shooting rest. What I've done is on the bottom of the air rifle, you see that hole there, I've added a fixture internally so that I can bolt the air rifle directly onto the plate, and then this gives me a beautifully stable platform for shooting from. And that pretty much, sums up my kit.